From the OUTV Broadcast Center in Los Angeles, California, this is Brief News Brief, a brief look at today's trending news topics, proudly combating the thought police since 2016. Here's your host, James Heaney.
I'm James Heaney, and this is your Brief News Briefing. And before we get started, I'd just like to say we have reason to celebrate today. This is our 100th episode of Brief News Brief, and I just want to say this show wouldn't be possible without you, the viewers, and without the inspiration of a very special man, Donald Trump. Thank you, Donald. Without you, I would never have been driven to do this show. And on to our 100th episode. On Wednesday, Donald Trump said that he is looking forward to testifying before Special Counsel Robert Mueller, and that he would speak under oath. No big deal. The president is under investigation, if you might recall, for obstruction of justice. And he reiterated that there was no collusion between him and Russia during the 2016 presidential campaign. I would love to do it, and I would like to do it as soon as possible. That's what Trump said. He did have the caveat that he'd like all of this, but it's up to his lawyers. Trump said that at the White House, and Mueller's team has told Trump's lawyers that they want to question the president about the firing of National Security Advisor Michael Flynn and FBI Director James Comey. Trump was also asked about DACA at the same confrontation with the press, and he responded with yeah, we're going to deal with DACA. We're going to deal with it. It's just we're going to morph into it. Morph into it. Morph into it. It's strange because what he's talking about is a pathway to citizenship. And when he uses the word morph, I can't help but think of the Power Rangers. Every year in Davos, Switzerland, the World Economic Forum is held. It's the who's who, a collection of the elite of the elite, the top 1% of the top 1%. And this year's forum kicked off this week with leaders, journalists, and money men from all over the world gathered to discuss the economic policy and strategy. Donald Trump arrived today to the conference with a huge entourage of White House employees hanging out in the Swiss Alps. German Chancellor Angela Merkel attended this year after missing the last 2 years. Yesterday, she addressed the conference in a speech that addressed the isolationist tendencies that have emerged in Europe and Washington, and she called it poison. Merkel made a plea for a multilateral solution to global challenges. Merkel never mentioned Donald Trump by name, but she was clearly talking about him. President Trump will give his speech tomorrow. I'm on the edge of my damn seat. Maybe those weren't hours wasted playing Fallout Shelter. The Bulletin of Atomic Scientists advanced the symbolic Doomsday Clock a notch closer to the end of humanity today, moving it ahead by 30 seconds. This comes after what the organization called a grim assessment of the state of geopolitical affairs. It's now 2 minutes to midnight. That's 30 seconds closer to midnight. And it's the closest we've been since 1953. The group cited the failure of President Trump and other world leaders, they're not getting off on this, to deal with the looming threat of nuclear war and climate change. The organization, whose board includes 15 Nobel laureates, now believes the world is not only more dangerous than it was a year ago, it is as threatening as it has been since World War II. The clock is a metaphorical measure of humankind's proximity to global catastrophe. Members of Congress, White House advisors, and even the president are implying that they think war with a nuclear state is not only likely, but potentially desirable. What kind of insanity is that? A board of scientists and nuclear experts called the Bulletin of the Atomic Scientists meeting. They said that we should meet regularly to determine what time it is on the Doomsday Clock. When you're this close, it's more important to check in more often on what time it is. The Justice Department wants to crack down on sanctuary jurisdictions. They are threatening to subpoena 23 states, cities, and other locales that they suspect might be interfering with immigration enforcement. Trump and Attorney General Jeff Sessions have long promised to target cities that are friendly to those in the country illegally. Among those jurisdictions in the crosshairs are Chicago, New York, Los Angeles, and the states of California, Illinois, and Oregon. Mayors of all cities all over the country are outraged by the move and are snubbing the president on a mayor gathering that he has been planning at the White House. They're not going to go. Sessions has long sought to tie crime to immigration. He recently released data that said 73% of terrorism convictions in the U.S. involved individuals from other countries. But experts say that that's crap, that's fake news, not true. Some research even shows that immigrants are less likely to make crimes than those that are native born. When Trump went into office, he seemed confident that he would bring the long sought-after peace in the Middle East. But last week, Turkey launched an offensive on Kurdish positions in Afrin, a Kurdish enclave along Syria's border with Turkey. And then just last week, Erdogan, the president of Turkey, promised to drown Kurdish forces. Yikes. I mean, I know it's too soon. Maybe we just need to work a little longer. I'm sure that Trump's got it situated. Maybe Jared Kushner can help? I'm not sure. But U.S. officials worry that the days-old Turkish offensive is going to lead to another uncontrollable surge of violence and complicate the settlement of the war in Syria. Observatory for Human Rights said that at least 32 civilians had been killed in the latest offensive, which Turkey has ironically dubbed Operation Olive Branch. Mind blown.